Yep, it seems to be echoing now, and we are not muted. Beautiful. Hello, thanks for your patience while we fixed a couple of last-minute technical difficulties. I'm Ben Treat, I'm the director of the Bangor Public Library, and thanks for joining us tonight for this celebration of the Bangor Public Library's art exhibit commemorating the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment. It's hard to celebrate the fact that this was the 19th Amendment to the Constitution as opposed to a part of the initial intent of the Constitution. But we can celebrate the work of women and others to ensure that everyone could someday have a seat at the table. The Art Committee began thinking about this exhibit in 2018. That's how long thought has been going into this project. They worked with one another to seek artists' contributions, fundraise, conduct art intakes, no small task. They also had to pivot when we had the first major pandemic that we'd had in a century. So thank you to the Art Committee members, Amanda Coburn, Annette Dodd, Rebecca Krupke, Stephanie Leonard, and their chair, Cal Elmore. We're fortunate to have three accomplished and wise jurors for this event. Thank you to George Kinghorn, Maisie Huff, and Nina Jerome. We've been graced with an exhibit catalog with a foreword by accomplished Maine poet and art critic Carl Little. Thank you to Carl for his wise commentary, which you'll hear later tonight. You'll be hearing a musical performance tonight too, and thanks to you, Maine music professor Nancy Ogle, for bringing together Kate Fogg, soprano, and Gloria Volmers, violin, to perform original work by Deborah Kay. We had to change course when it became impossible for us to have large groups of people in to view the exhibit. And numerous downtown Bangor storefronts have contributed their window space to ensure that there's an exhibit of posters of the work that's been produced by the artists in this exhibit out there in the community. So instead of having people come into the library to see the exhibit, they can actually tour downtown Bangor. They can use the app that's available to find which windows to look in. So thank you to Lance and Amy Blackstone, Epic Sports, Tea and Tarts, Covort, the Rock and Art Shop, Accents Home Furnishings, Maine Jewelry and Art, Top of the Nine, Maine Tavern, Fork and Spoon, and the Maine Discovery Museum for sharing their window space with us. We received generous financial support from the Maine Humanities Council, the Maine Bicentennial Commission, Dean Wealth Advisors, Jean Dean and Glenn Porter. Thank you all for making this evening, this exhibit, the catalog, all the parts that I've just described possible. We couldn't have done it without the financial support. So finally, great thanks go to Candace Joyce, reference librarian here at the Bangor Public Library. Candace coordinates adult programming at the library, works directly with the Art Committee. She never stops. She's just nonstop, constantly, never for a minute, stopping, thinking of new ways to make this exhibit fabulous. And when the pandemic hit and it seemed like, how do you pull off an art exhibit amid all of that? She came up with 6 ideas about how to make the exhibit bigger as a result of the pandemic. So great thanks go to Candace for coordinating everything, including tonight. So nothing tonight would have been possible without her hard work and good humor too. This all takes some effort to get through. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the baton via Zoom to Jean Dean, one of the sponsors of the event and the exhibit, and someone who has a few words for the event tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. This is an important celebration to many, and I would like to join Ben in thanking everyone who worked so hard to make it a reality. Ben listed just about everyone, so I'm not going to use too many minutes to repeat everything he just said. But I also want to thank a certain sponsor, all the sponsors, but a certain sponsor, especially the award sponsor, D& Wealth Advisor is a company close to my heart, founded by women and now owned by 3 incredible women, Lucy Estabrook, Jennifer Butler, and Jen Eastman. Thank you all. I had the insane list Ben had. I'm going to stop and not do that. But I would like to say that even a pandemic could not stop us from celebrating this momentous occasion. I wish we could all be in the same room. I wish I could see my friend Richard Capral, but it's great to be connected nonetheless. For the last 4 or 5 years, when participating on various community and state boards, there has been great excitement about the state's bicentennial. Certainly the bicentennial was also a momentous occasion, but as the planning went on year over year, I was always the voice in the room who chirped up and said, don't forget, 2020 is also the 100th anniversary of US women achieving the right to vote. Think of that. The right to vote, the right to be heard, to own property, and the right to not be treated as property. For some women of color, especially Native American women, I'm sad to acknowledge that those rights came far later, and most of us would agree that there is still a lot of work to be done. But let us reflect for a moment on what 100 years means. When I do that, I always reflect on the women closest to me. My grandmother was born in 1898, a full 22 years before the 19th Amendment finally passed. I'm pretty sure she would have been a wild and active suffragist, but she was too busy being a pioneer running a general store in the remote Rocky Mountains. My mother was born in 1923, 3 years after the passage. I was born in 1951, close to the midway point to the celebration. Our daughter was born in 1985 and our granddaughter in 2016. She's 4 years old today. If we start with Mom, who was born in 1923, that's really only 4 generations of women since the 19th Amendment passed. 100 years really wasn't that long ago. One of my favorite friends who was born before 1920 was a client who passed away just a few years ago at the age of 103. She was a retired editor, as sharp as a tack, and early on she used to send back my emails corrected. It was really heart-wrenching for me as an English major. She was a Mainer, but not from this immediate area, and respecting her privacy still, let's call her Alice. When I visited her, she used to lament, all of my friends are gone. Why am I still here? Well, that's easy, Alice, I would say. You're still here because we need your vote. That was in 2016, and she sat up straight in her chair and she said, you're right. I must stay alive to vote. I would like to tell you that she was happy with the 2016 outcome, but I will let you reflect on that probability or improbability. The right to vote is truly precious. Prior to 1920, women marched in the streets, picketed the White House, and went to jail where they went on hunger strikes and were force-fed. In preparation, the winner of this competition, Richard Capral, read a book on Susan B. Anthony, which he loaned to me, and he remarked, I had no idea how much she went through and how much she did. She was amazing. Pity that she did not live to see the 19th Amendment pass. She died in 1906. She was born in 1820 and would have been 100 when the 19th Amendment passed. Suffice it to say, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to the women and to the men as well who supported the 19th Amendment. Let us honor them by being sure to vote ourselves and by urging others to do the same. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cal Elmore, and I'm going to read the words of Carl Little that are used as the introduction to the catalog for this amazing exhibit. He called it The Art of Suffrage. Carl Little. The prompt was the same for all the artists in this exhibition. Respond to and reflect on the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The results are remarkable. Using a range of mediums and means, acrylic, pencil, watercolor, collage, mosaic work, found objects, the 14 drew on history, poetry, and other sources to create memorable and moving tributes to a profound and ongoing legacy of activism. Many of the pieces reference figures from the past who played a significant role in the passage of the amendment, including Alice Paul, Inez Milholland, Ida B. Wells, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Susan B. Anthony. Some artists extended the homages to honor Sojourner Truth, Bell Hooks, George Floyd, the Women's March, the rainbow colors of LGBTQ+ rights, the Me Too movement, and the ongoing fight for voting rights. And several artists turned to symbols, among them roses, crow feathers, and sunflowers, to evoke wisdom, power, and promise. If they had taken on the same project today, I'm sure many of these artists would have included Ruth Bader Ginsburg in their pieces. As the late, brilliant Supreme Court Justice stated earlier this year, the 19th Amendment was the first step of equal citizenship for women. A century later, many more steps have been made, but as these artists underscore, the march continues. The first definition for suffrage in the Oxford English Dictionary is prayers, especially intercessory prayers, intercessions. While the word has evolved over time to mean the right or privilege of voting, its original meaning of intervening or praying on behalf of others still pertains. We pray, we vote, and we make art to help bring about change in the lives of all. Carl Little. Now there'll be a presentation of awards by Dean Wealth Advisors.
Thank you, Cal. I'm Lucy Estabrook, and on behalf of Dean Wealth Advisors, I would just like to say how pleased we were to be involved with this event. Jennifer Butler will present the first award. Very pleased to announce that there are actually two incredibly talented third place winners. The first is Jennifer Delaney for her acrylic entitled So That Every Voice Is Heard. And the second is Teddy Jan Koval for her oil on canvas titled Women's March on Washington 2017. Congratulations to both of you. Jen I'm sorry, may I introduce Jen Eastman from Dean Wealth Advisors as well to introduce the next winner.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to announce the second place winner of the exhibition, Stephanie Leonard, for her piece, Thereby Assuming the Responsibility of Citizenship. Stephanie was inspired by a reproduction of a poster that was created during the suffrage movement, and she wanted to show a local resident who might have hung this sign. Congratulations, Stephanie. And now Lucy Estabrook for our first place announcement.
I am so pleased to have the first place award goes to a favorite artist of ours, Mr. Richard Capral. His tribute to Susan B. Anthony and her dedication for women's rights circa 1920 took first place. So congratulations, Richard. And then we're on to the virtual catalog, I believe.